Hello, I'm Bonnie Libhart, and for some of you today, what you're going to hear may be life-changing. You may not be the same person after this is over that you are now. And we have certain rules that we want you to go by in order to have that happen. We're going to talk about media mind mapping. Media mind mapping is one thing that will happen to perhaps each one of us through this next 21st century. You know, God stepped out into space and He said, "I'm lonely." And then He created man. And the next thing that happened, man created television. And the one thing we can be sure of is that we're all exposed to television. And too many times we're exposed to it in front of the camera as well as behind the camera. When we're in front of the camera, sometimes it's a crisis situation and we wish we weren't there. And many times when we're in front of the camera, even though we want to be there, we don't know always what to do. So today we're going to go through some ideas that you can learn about how to meet and sweep the media. First of all, we want you to participate in the media when you are to be interviewed on television. You want to have good eye contact. Now, when I worked in television, had a daily television show for 4 years. Now I'm working with Victory Network and do Vision Plus, and there's not quite the pressure in coming here once a week as it would be every day for a 30-minute show. But when you want to meet the media and greet the media, you must remember that even though you're participating by eye contact, perhaps not always looking at the person who's interviewing you, maybe looking in the camera if it's appropriate, and of course you want to be dressed appropriate. There at the television station where I did a daily television show, companies would send me product, hoping that I would show them, give them a free plug on television, and I didn't care a lot about some of them. You've seen them on the Johnny Carson show around Christmas time. But one time a cosmetic company came out with a new line. I thought, aha, I'll try this one. So I'm smearing this gook all over my face. My little one's watching me. "What are you doing that for, Mother?" I said, "That is going to make me beautiful." He watched, didn't take his eyes off. And then the next 30 minutes when I wiped the gook off, he said, "It didn't work, did it, Mother?" Sometimes we try things and they don't work as well as we'd like for them to. And when we're being interviewed on television, whether it's a desire of our own or a crisis situation where something has happened and the media comes to us, we need to know that we can help make it work by our participation. So in addition to not looking at the interviewer all of the time and to use eye contact, then we also want to appear to be interested in what the interviewer is saying and to have a little animation in what we're doing, because I think that electronics sometimes bring people across the television lenses a little bit flatter, so you can be a little more animated, use a little more eye contact, a little more animation that you normally do use. Now, you're not always going to say the right thing. I know at the television station, one day I was doing a news program, reading the news, and in those days we read live newscasts occasionally, and of course they do, and especially in smaller communities, they don't always have the few seconds lag that they do in major media. But I was reading a live newscast and a guy dashed out of the control room over to my news desk, handed me a slip of paper, said right into the camera, "This news bulletin just handed me, there is something green on your teeth." Sometimes the things we say are not what we had intended to say, and we have to learn to smile, cope with it, go ahead anyway. Just like today when I came to do this video, what happened? But I answered the phone and I didn't have both earrings on. So you're thinking I'm starting a new fad by wearing one earring and not the other one, and perhaps I will. But we have to learn to just flow with what's happening to us and to learn to laugh at ourselves. Because if we can have fun with ourselves and help put that interviewer at ease, or if we're the person doing the interview, make the guest feel at ease, then we can have a time when people will say things that they want to say, or perhaps not always what they want to say. We must remember that even though we're not in control, unless you're a candidate for office and you have a real planned speech, but normally you're not always in control. when you're being interviewed by the media. But there are things that we must learn to do. We never say no comment, because that looks like we're trying to hide something, or taking the Fifth Amendment. We always think, okay, he's really guilty, she's really guilty, if she says no comment or the Fifth Amendment. If we do need to say no comment for whatever reason, then we need to explain why we're saying no comment, so that we can always have the audience participate with us in what's happening here in front of the lens. And that's one thing that we can do. Now, there are times when we will have, like the person that said there's something green on my teeth, there are things that will happen to us. I know one day when I was doing the news and the lights were very, very warm that particular day, and the air conditioning went off in the studio, and I had these long, gorgeous, I call them Tammy Baker eyelashes, and the perspiration, in Arkansas we called it sweat, started running down into my eyes, and the glue came loose, and there I had this flopping eyelash, one flopping eyelash. So I took the eyelash and I pulled it off. I looked into the camera and I said, if this is bothering you as much as it is me, I'm going to take it off. So I finished the newscast with one long curly eyelash and one little stubble that the good Lord gave me. And we have to, and I saw a person in Dallas later, and she said, oh, I remember you. I saw you on television. And I'm ready to grab my pen and sign an autograph. She said, yeah, I remember you the day you lost your eyelash. So we have to learn that no matter what happens, no matter what we say, smile and keep going. Because if we can get the audience, that the person that's watching the camera with us together as a team, with a conversation going where they feel like that they're participating in what's happening, then they're blessed by it. And the person who's doing the interviewing or the person who we are interviewing feel more relaxed, and we can have more fun at it. You know, because there's been a study made. Harvard did a study. That's who I heard did the study. I'm telling you, you can go to any speech and learn somebody else did the study. But anyway, they studied talking about your problems, or having a pity party, or feeling bad about what happens to you. Do you know, in this study it said that 80% of the people do not care about your troubles or your problems or what happens to you that is bad. And the other 20% are glad that it's you and not them. So we don't need to talk about all the horrible things that have happened to us, or that we got to run in our hose, or that we forgot to, if it's the men, they didn't wear a belt, or all of the things that happened to them. We just have to keep on, keeping on, and it's good if we're working, if we can be on our own turf. In other words, if somebody's interviewing you in a crisis situation, rather than them taking you off to the studio where you're already intimidated by all the lights and the cameras and the strange setting, the strange people, if they're going to be interviewing you, it's wonderful if they can come to your turf. So if there's any way under the sun, when the media is going to interview you, encourage them to come to your place of business, to your home, to your place that they want to do the interview. Then you feel more comfortable with your own surrounding, with what you're familiar with, and that will be a way. Now, if they are going to take you away to their strange studio and all of the lights and the camera and the action that Shirley and Vicki and all of the camera people and the production people are doing, then you just need to say, hey, isn't it wonderful that I'm living in the 21st century and I had an opportunity to see what goes on behind the scene in television, and just go on and flow with it and enjoy it, and realize that they have to live with that all the time, and you only have to live with it during this one interview. So you want to stay cool, calm, and collected, so you participate. Now, what does that make you? You know what that makes you in a television interview? That makes you a winner. Now, what's the difference in a loser and a winner? A winner is a person who has an objective in mind. You have something to say. You have, you feel like that you want to be on your soapbox and you have something to say. So that makes you a winner. A loser is a person who totally gets intimidated by everything that's going on, or they're they lose control of the way they feel or they respond or react. They get angry and they want to yell at the person doing the interview, or they just totally lose it on themselves. Now, today, you are at a crossroads in your life. Do you know what? Today is the first day of the rest of your life. And if the phone call comes and they say, "Hello, I would like to do an interview with you about whatever you're involved in, your company, your business." It can be, in our Vision Plus program, we talk about how to cope with boredom, how to overcome alcoholism, being on drugs, or a closet alcoholism. So many things that we each from day to day have to live with, overcome. And then if we can just say, "Well, sure, I'd be glad to be interviewed," because if you don't let them interview you, if it's something that's happened in your family, in your company, or that's going on in your organization, they're going to tell that too. They're going to say, "I contacted this person and they would not appear on camera. They would not give us a statement. They said no comment. They said, I'll take the Fifth Amendment. They said, I have nothing to say to the media." Whatever you say, remember, once the media appears, even though there's things going on behind the scene, there's walking to and fro, you, being the one being interviewed, are on camera all the time, even though you may not be behind the lights. If they hear something that you say off the cuff, as far as the newsman or the news interviewer or the person who's doing the program is concerned, you're on camera. Now you can ask, "Please let this be off the record," and perhaps it will be off the record, but you don't always deal with people who honor what you say, "This is off the record." And if it's off the record, why say it anyway? So if you're going to meet and sweep the media, you want to participate. And of course, you want to anticipate what might happen to you. Now, in being able to anticipate what we've gone through, that you could lose an eyelash, that all of these things could happen to you, I doubt seriously if that would be one in today's world. But there could be something. You could fall off the chair when you're coming up to sit down, or you could be on the chair and a leg could break. Whatever, the worst possible thing that could happen, Murphy's Law probably will happen. I want to get rid of Murphy sometime with all of those things that could happen with Murphy's Law. But when we anticipate what could happen, the worst that can happen, learn to flow with it, and then to participate, watch your nonverbal elements. For instance, if they ask you a question and you glance around, you have this shifty vision, like you don't want to look them in the eye, then they will think you're trying to hide something. So the nonverbal communication, you know, if you cross your legs away, if you're sitting down, you cross your legs away from the person doing the interview, that's saying that you are not communicating as well. If you lean forward a little bit, then that's saying that you're interested in what they're saying to you. If you cross your arms, that's a nonverbal communication that says, "You have angered me. I do not want to answer. I am closing myself to this." And, you know, if you just learn to be open, learn to, hey, if it's something that happened to you, whatever the worst thing that you could think of that could happen to you, if you have an open mind, you participate, you have maybe a couple of notes with you, or if they've called you on the phone and said, "I'm going to be over in a minute," jot down some things so that you stay in control of you. You cannot stay in control of the media or the angles they're going to get, or if you have a bad side and they're going to get that particular side, but you can stay in control of the way you respond to what they do. And that's what you want to do, is roll with it. Don't let them get ahead of you. Hey, you know what? In a crisis situation, the media needs you more than you need the media. So they need to be nice to you too, because they need that story. Do you realize that the media, especially a news program, would not have anything to say if it wasn't for us human beings that made it possible for them to have something to say? So we want to participate in what they do. And then one of the things that I call is that it's the testate, the anticipate, participate, and testate. Now, what's testate? Okay, that's making a will, or having a goal, or having a plan, and it's an untethered plan where you can take charge. And you know, we talk about what I call the 90-10 plan. The 90-10 plan, if you're going to be interviewed on television, the secret is listening. Listening. If we can listen to what they're saying, then we can help to control what they do, no matter what it is. If it's an interview for a job, if you will listen very carefully to what they're asking you, you can really give them the answer that you want to give. If they ask you a question that you absolutely don't want to answer or don't know, hey, candor is wonderful. People love candor. Say, I really don't know the answer to that. Or you can even say, I really don't want to answer that, because that's a very personal thing between my husband and me, my family and me, and I really prefer to keep that with our family. So it's all right if they keep digging and digging. You can say, well, it's very interesting that you would say that. You know, that has happened to me before when my family was involved in this. But you know, my families are very precious to me, and you can actually turn that question around and make it work out for you so that they don't control you, even though they've asked you maybe an embarrassing question, or they have made a joke about something that's happened to you or to your family, or they've made a remark that you think is derogatory. Hey, it's perfectly all right to say, I don't think that was a very nice thing for you to say. I think that was rather a derogatory statement that you just made. In other words, be you. You can be you better than anyone else can be you. Be you, your own unique self. Don't try to be what you think someone else would be. I can't be Barbara Walters or Vicki Tatum. I can't be Shirley. I can't be anyone else but me. I can't be my daughter Emily. I only can be me, and you can only be you. But if you have a few little rules or ideas in mind to follow, if the media is going to interview you, what you want to do, let's say that it's an interview about an upcoming event that you're involved in. You want to make that, you want to show the best part about it, and if they're trying to dig underneath and find something that would be maybe not very significant, a very insignificant thing, but they feel like that it would be gory and juicy and make the story more interesting, the event that has happened. Hey, you guys had that event last year and nobody came. Well, how about that? If you will just have anticipate what could be asked you, participate in what they're saying, and then to be in control, to have your notes. You know, a testate that you make is making out a will while you're alive. It also can be making your notes while they're coming over to your place of business or your house to interview you, or you're going out to be interviewed. Is have you a plan and then follow the plan, and they're going to try to get you off that plan, or you may take a few rabbit tracks yourself off of that, but you can stay in control of you, because you can have an issue memorandum. You can have your plan that say, okay, this is my memo, this is what I'm going to stick to, and you can always get back to what you want to say. You know that if they're going to interview you for a long interview, well, they're not going to use but 2 or 3. Why, a 3-minute interview would be the longest interview you could ever imagine on evening news. They're probably going to take out a little tiny clip of maybe a couple of sentences max, and when they do, they're going to take the ones that maybe you wouldn't want them to have made. So if you can anticipate that they're going to do that, then don't say any more than you want to have on the air. Don't say anything that you don't want to have on the air, because that's the sentence they will pick out and put on the air, because it's those off the cuff, the remarks you didn't anticipate saying, the ones that are not on your script or in your notes. Say, oh, I didn't know I was going to be interviewed. That's not necessary to say that. Just as a professional person, just anticipate that you're always going to be interviewed, that whatever you're involved in is so interesting, so glorious to God, so much of a blessing to the company you work for, that they're always going to want to interview you. And to, just like the Bible says about that, we're also to always to be ready to give an answer. I think that's true in the media. Whether it's a Christian station, a commercial station, a public television, whatever it might be. Interview that's going to be used for your company, that could be maybe just an interview that's only going to be shown on closed circuit television for a specific audience. Remember, when you walk out that door, you are on camera. When you walk into the studio, you are on camera. Even though they might not be pointing the camera to you, they could say those remarks that you say as you walk around the studio, as you walk around being interviewed. So if you want to meet and greet the media, stay in control of you and have fun doing it. You know, the world beats on us all the time, and we have ideas in mind that we would like to do. I know that we had this Chinese missionary that came to our church one time in Lincoln Way Church in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and it was funny that here the Chinese were coming to save the Americans, and I can tell you there are so many of us that need to be saved. But he taught us a couple of things. He said, "A lovely thought was in my heart. I failed to set it free. From lack of exercise it died and made its tomb in me." You know, when we have something to say in the media, it's not going to be said, perhaps, if we don't say it. And if you want to be on your soapbox and you have something to say, by all means, say it. If it's a good for this country, if this is good for this world, please get in front of that camera and say it. Don't think that they don't want you. They do want you. They want people who step forward boldly. Boldly I come to the throne. Boldly we need to be available to do things. And he also taught us another thing about character building. Do one thing each day that we don't want to do, that nobody knows whether we do or not, that we do anyway. And perhaps you could send a card to the studio thanking them for their time. You think about it, you walk out the door and you think, you know, Vicki and Shirley and all the people there, they're so sweet to us. I just really appreciate the people that help us in this world. Send them a card, send something to them to say, hey, you're okay. I appreciate you. I appreciate that extra mile that you go, that going an extra mile. You know that we can do that when we're working with the media. They get so few thank you notes, they could count them on probably one hand. So if you're going to be interviewed by the media and you want to be remembered, you send them a thank you note. You send them flowers. You send them something that says, I appreciate it. Wouldn't hurt if you took cookies with you. I don't very often do that because I'm the biggest cookie monster there is. And so I would eat all the cookies while I was waiting out of nervousness. You know, I'd be eating all the cookies and they would not get any of the cookies. So, but if you can refrain from eating all of their cookies you brought to them, you might bring them cookies, cake, candy. They're in that studio. They can't get away to so many places, and they would appreciate it if you would just be extra thoughtful to them. So, you know what? You can do it. You can do it because you as a person are a business, just like any other business up and down the street. You have the know-how, you have the time, the energy, the training, but the world tries to take it out. And I'm going to end with this story about how the world has tried to beat us down. It's called chrysalis. Chrysalis is the stage of change when the cocoon is opened up and the butterfly comes out that it's supposed to be. And if the world has beat you down and you feel like you don't have a right to be in front of that media, think about this. She always wanted to say things, but no one understood. She always wanted to see things, but no one cared. She wanted to say things. So she would lie out in the grass and look up in the sky, and it was only her and the sky and the things inside her that needed saying. It was after that that she drew, and she drew all yellow, and it was the way God made her feel about morning. When she started to school, she brought it with her, not to show anyone, but just to have with her like a friend. It was funny about school. She sat in a square brown desk like all the other square brown desks, and she thought it should be red. And she hated to hold the pencil and the chalk with the teacher watching and watching. Put your feet flat on the floor. The teacher said, why don't you wear a uniform like all the other girls and draw dolls and dollhouses? She said, I don't like to wear uniforms, and I like to draw yellow because that's the way God makes me feel about morning. It was all questions. After that, her mother bought her a uniform, and she drew dolls and dollhouses like all the other girls. She threw the old picture away. And when she was alone, she would lie out in the grass and look up in the sky, and it was big and blue and all of everything. But she wasn't anymore. She was square inside and brown. And the things God had put inside of her to say didn't need saying anymore. Each of us has been placed here on earth and given life for some grand purpose. Each of us has been given a gift from God and a talent. And your gift can be assimilated and given out to the world only by you. So when the media comes to you and they ask you for your opinion, for what you have to say about something, step forward boldly and know that you have the words to say because you were created in God's image. Therefore, you can anticipate what to say. You can participate in an interview, and you can be the person that makes this plan and follows your plan. I'm so happy that you joined me today. I have a premonition that soars on silver wings. I know of your accomplishments and other wondrous things. I do not know beneath which sky, nor where you'll challenge fate. I only know it will be high, and that you can truly be a part of the media mind mapping, and that you can meet and sweet the media when God is your guide.